The man stood by the big window in his office. He was high up in the building, so high that the people on the street looked like tiny dots. Cars looked like toys. The city spread out below him like a map. He was 42 years old. He had more money than most people could imagine. His company was famous all over the world. Magazines wrote stories about him. Other business people wanted to be like him. Everyone said he was successful, but standing there looking down at the city, he felt nothing. Just empty, like a bottle with nothing inside. His phone buzzed on the desk behind him. He did not turn around. He knew what it was. More emails, more meetings, more decisions that would make or lose millions of dollars. He was tired of it all. There was a soft knock on his door. His assistant came in. She was holding a folder and looking at her tablet. "Sir, the meeting starts in 10 minutes, she said. "The board members are already waiting in the conference room." He nodded slowly but did not look at her. "I will be there soon," she left quietly. The door closed with a soft click. Another meeting. Another room full of people in expensive suits talking about numbers and charts. They would all look at him and wait for him to make the final decision. They always did. That was his job. That was his life. He looked at his reflection in the window. A man in a perfect suit, perfect tie, perfect haircut. Everything about him looked successful, but his eyes looked tired, old, sad. When did he become this person? He could not remember. It happened slowly year after year. Each success made him more famous but less happy. Each $1 million made him richer but more empty inside. The meeting lasted 3 hours. He sat at the head of the long table and listened to presentations. He asked questions. He made decisions. Everyone nodded and wrote notes when he spoke. They treated him like he was very important, but inside he was thinking about something else. Something from long ago, a different life, a different version of himself. When the meeting finally ended, everyone shook his hand and left. He stayed in his chair, looking at the empty room. The sun was going down outside. Orange light came through the windows. His assistant came back. "Sir, your car is waiting downstairs. Do you need anything else before you leave?" He looked at her for a moment. She was young, maybe 25. She worked hard. She always stayed late. She probably wanted to be successful like him one day. He wanted to tell her not to. He wanted to tell her to find something that made her happy instead. But he did not say anything. "Tell the driver I will not need him tonight," he said. She looked surprised. "Are you sure?"
"How will you get home?"
"I will find my way," he said. After she left, he sat in his office alone. The building was getting quiet. Most people had gone home. He stood up and walked to a closet in the corner. Inside was a bag he kept there. Inside the bag were old clothes. A university sweater that was soft and worn, jeans with holes in the knees, an old baseball cap. He changed out of his expensive suit. He put on the old clothes. He looked at himself in the small mirror on the closet door. He looked like a different person, just a regular man. Nobody special. This was what he needed. To disappear, to be nobody for a few hours. He took the elevator down to the ground floor. The security guard at the front desk did not even look at him twice. Good. He walked out into the evening air. The city was busy. People rushed past him on the sidewalk. Nobody knew who he was. Nobody cared. It felt strange and wonderful at the same time. He walked to the subway station. He had not been on the subway in years. Maybe 10 years. Maybe more. He used to take it every day when he was young and poor. Back when he was still studying. Back when he still had dreams that were not about money. The station was crowded. People pushed past each other. Some were talking on phones. Some were reading. Some just looked tired after a long day of work. Real people with real lives and real problems. He bought a ticket and went down the stairs to the platform. A train came and went. He did not get on it. He was not trying to go anywhere. He just wanted to be around normal people for a while, to remember what that felt like. He found an empty bench and sat down. A woman sat next to him, struggling with shopping bags and a baby in a stroller. The baby was crying. The woman looked exhausted. She dug through her bag looking for something. "Here," he said, picking up a bottle that had fallen on the ground. He handed it to her. "Thank you," she said, taking it. She gave the bottle to the baby, who stopped crying and started drinking. The woman closed her eyes for a moment and took a deep breath. He watched people walk past. A teenager stood in the corner with a violin, playing badly but with great focus. An old man sat on another bench throwing breadcrumbs to the birds even though there were signs that said not to feed them. Two friends laughed together about something on a phone. Everyone had somewhere to go. Everyone had someone waiting for them. He had a big empty apartment and nobody waiting. The platform was long. At one end, away from most of the crowd, he saw something. A piano. It was old and dusty. Someone had donated it to the station years ago. He had read about it in a newspaper article. They put pianos in public places so people could play music and make others happy. Most of the time, the piano stayed silent. Sometimes people who did not really know how to play would sit down and hit a few keys. They would play simple songs badly and then leave. But this piano was empty now. Waiting. He stood up. His legs moved before his brain told them to. He walked toward the piano slowly. His heart started beating faster. His hands felt strange, tingly, like they remembered something he had tried to forget. When was the last time he played piano? He knew exactly when. 20 years ago. The day after his mother died. The day after he gave up on his dream. The day he decided to be practical and successful instead of following his heart. He had not touched a piano since then, until now. He stood in front of the old piano. Some keys were chipped. The wood was scratched. But it was beautiful to him, more beautiful than anything in his expensive office. A few people glanced at him as they walked past. Just another person about to play. They did not stop. They did not care. He sat down on the bench. The seat was hard and uncomfortable. He lifted his hands. They shook a little. He touched one key, just one. Middle C. The note rang out through the station. Something broke open inside his chest. Something that had been locked away for 20 years. He began to play. His fingers found the keys like they had been waiting for this moment. At first, his hands were stiff. He made mistakes. The notes came out wrong, clumsy, but he kept going. He started playing a famous piece, a song by a composer who died hundreds of years ago, a sad, beautiful song that everyone knew, the kind of music that makes you feel things deep inside. Slowly, his fingers remembered. They remembered how to move, how to dance across the keys, how to press soft and how to press hard, how to make the piano sing. The mistakes became fewer. The music became smoother, clearer, more alive. He closed his eyes. He was not in the subway station anymore. In his mind, he was somewhere else, somewhere far away and long ago. He was in his childhood home, a small apartment with thin walls. His mother was standing behind him while he practiced. He could almost feel her hand on his shoulder. Warm and gentle. "You have a gift," she used to say. "Do not waste it. The world needs beauty. You can give that to people." But she got sick, very sick. The medicine cost so much money. The hospital bills kept coming. Mountains of paper, numbers that made no sense, numbers that meant they might lose everything. The music school sent him a letter. He had auditioned. He wanted to study music and become a real pianist. But they said no. They said he was good but not good enough for a free scholarship. They said if he could pay the expensive tuition he could come. But he had no money. Another school sent a different letter. A school for computers and technology. They said he was very smart. They said they would pay for everything. Free tuition, free room, free food. All of it free if he came and studied business and technology. The choice was not really a choice. His mother needed medicine. He needed to help. Music was just a dream. Dreams do not pay bills. So he went to the technology school. He studied hard. He started a company. He made money. Lots of money. His mother spent her last years comfortable. She had the best doctors, the best hospital rooms, everything money could buy, but she died anyway. And he never played piano again after that. It hurt too much. Every note reminded him of what he gave up, what he lost 20 years past. He became rich, famous, powerful. But somewhere inside, a part of him died the day he stopped making music. Now sitting at this old subway piano, that dead part was waking up, coming back to life. And it hurt. It hurt so much, but it also felt good, like breathing after holding your breath for too long, like drinking water after days in the desert. The music poured out of him. Not just the old famous song anymore. Now he was playing something else, something he wrote himself when he was young. He wrote it late at night when he could not sleep, when he was sad or happy or confused. When he had feelings too big for words, he never showed this music to anyone. It was too personal, too honest, too much of his real self. But now, in this subway station, he played it. Every note was true. Every note cost him something. Every note was like opening a door he had kept locked for years. He did not notice, but people were stopping, not walking past anymore, standing still, listening. A woman froze in the middle of the platform. She was holding her phone to her ear, but she was not talking anymore, just listening to the music. Her mouth was open. Her eyes were wide. A man in a business suit lowered his newspaper. He folded it slowly and stood still, staring at the piano player. The teenager with the violin stopped playing his own music. He let his bow hand fall to his side. He just listened. More people stopped, and more. They formed a circle around the piano, but not too close. Like they did not want to break the spell, did not want to disturb something sacred. A little girl tugged on her father's jacket. "Daddy," she whispered. "Why do I feel like crying?" The father looked down at his daughter. He saw tears on her cheeks. He reached up and touched his own face. He was crying too. He did not know why. "I do not know, sweetheart," he said quietly. "I do not know." An old woman found a bench and sat down heavily. Tears ran down her wrinkled face. The music reminded her of something, someone. Her husband had played piano. Not this good, but with the same feeling, the same love. He died 5 years ago. She missed him every day. The music made her remember dancing in their kitchen. Him playing silly songs to make her laugh. The way his hands moved on the keys. The way he looked at her when he played love songs. She cried, but they were not completely sad tears. They were tears of remembering, of love that does not die even when people do. A police officer walked toward the piano. His job was to keep order in the station, to make sure nobody caused trouble. Sometimes people played music too loud. Sometimes people blocked the way. He was going to tell this man to stop or move. But then the music hit him, really hit him. He stopped walking. He stood at attention, like he was listening to the national anthem. His hand moved to his heart without him thinking about it. The music grew bigger, louder. It filled the whole station. It echoed off the walls and ceiling. It covered the sound of trains and announcements and talking. Everything else became quiet. Only the music mattered. People who had been rushing to catch trains stopped rushing. They missed their trains. But they did not care. They just stood and listened. Some closed their eyes. Some swayed gently. Some held hands with the person next to them, even if they were strangers. The teenager with the violin slowly pulled out his phone. He started recording. Others saw him and did the same. Dozens of phones came out. Little lights glowing in the dim station, recording this moment, this unexpected gift of beauty in an ordinary place. But the piano player did not see any of this. His eyes were still closed. He was lost in the music, lost in his memories, lost in every choice he made and every road he did not take. The song changed, became faster, more angry, like he was fighting with himself, like he was asking questions with no answers. Why did I give this up? Who would I be if I had chosen differently? What did I lose? Then slower again, sadder, like he was accepting something, like he was saying goodbye to the person he could have been, letting go of old pain, old regret, then beautiful, so beautiful it hurt to hear, like he was finding peace, like he was forgiving himself, like he was saying that maybe it is not too late, maybe there's still time to change, to remember, to be real again. A young woman stood near the back of the crowd. She wore a collared shirt. Her eyes went wide. She squinted at the piano player. Something about him looked familiar. She pulled out her phone and searched the internet. She compared the man at the piano to pictures on her screen. Her mouth fell open. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That is him. That is really him." The woman next to her heard. "Who?" "The billionaire. The tech guy. The one on all the magazine covers." "What is his name?" "You know who I mean. The really rich one." The other woman looked closer, pulled out her own phone and searched. Her eyes went wide too. "No way, no way. What is he doing here?" The whisper spread through the crowd like wind through grass. Phones buzzed. People searched, compared, checked and checked again. It is him. The rich guy. The CEO. What is he doing playing piano in the subway? Is this a publicity stunt? Is someone filming a commercial? But no cameras, no crew, no security guards, just a man in old clothes playing piano like his life depended on it, like he was not rich or famous or important, like he was just a human being who needed to make music more than he needed anything else in the world. The crowd grew bigger. People came from other platforms. Someone outside told someone else, "You have to hear this." They came down the stairs. They pushed through the crowd to get closer. The music kept going. And going. The piano player never stopped. He played for 30 minutes, 40, 50. His hands never got tired. Or if they did, he did not care. He just kept playing. Every song was different but the same. Every note was a confession. Every melody was a piece of his soul he had hidden away. Now he was giving it all to these strangers. These people who just wanted to get home. These ordinary people living ordinary lives. But the music made them extraordinary. Made them all connected. Made them all part of something bigger than themselves. For this one moment, they were not alone. They were not just strangers passing through. They were human beings feeling together, crying together, healing together, and still the man played on. The crowd kept growing. It was not slow. It was like water finding a crack and pouring through. One person told another. That person told 5 more. Those 5 told dozens. People came from different platforms, from different train lines, from the street above. A homeless man with all his belongings in garbage bags shuffled over and stood at the edge. A lawyer in an expensive coat stood next to him. Neither of them noticed. They just listened. Trains arrived and left. Some people got on, but many did not. They stood on the platform and let their train go. They would catch the next one, or the one after that. This was more important. When would they hear something like this again? When would they feel something like this again? A nurse stood near a pillar. She had just finished a double shift at the hospital. 16 hours of taking care of sick people. Watching some get better. Watching some get worse. She was so tired her bones hurt. Her feet hurt. Her soul hurt, but the music reached her. It was like hands lifting a heavy weight off her shoulders. She leaned against the pillar and closed her eyes. For the first time in months, she did not feel tired. She felt alive, awake, human. Tears ran down her face. She did not wipe them away. She just let them fall. A businessman stood in the back of the crowd. Earlier that day, he lost an important case in court. The other side won. His clients were angry. His boss was disappointed. He spent the whole day thinking about what he did wrong, thinking about how to fix it, thinking about revenge. But now, listening to this music, all that anger drained away. It just left, like water running out of a broken cup. He could not hold on to it anymore. The music reminded him of something. When he was young, he wanted to be a lawyer to help people, to make the world more fair, to stand up for those who could not stand up for themselves. When did it become about winning? About money? About beating the other side? He pulled out his phone. He texted his wife, "I love you. I am sorry I have been working so much. Let us take that trip you wanted. Just us, no work. I promise." An old man pushed through the crowd slowly. He had trouble walking. His cane tapped on the ground. People moved aside to let him through. He got to the front and stood there, looking at the piano player with bright, wet eyes. "I have been coming through this station for 40 years, he said to the person next to him. His voice was rough but gentle. "Every single day for 40 years. I never heard anything like this. Never felt anything like this." The person next to him nodded, unable to speak. His throat was too tight with emotion. The music changed again, became something wild and free, like a bird escaping from a cage, like running through an open field, like laughing until you cannot breathe. The piano player's hands flew across the keys. His whole body moved with the music, swaying, rocking, alive. Some people in the crowd started moving too. Not really dancing, just swaying, feeling the rhythm in their bodies, letting the music move through them. A mother held her baby close. The baby had been crying before, fussy and upset, but now the baby was quiet, looking around with big eyes, listening. Even babies know when something special is happening. More phones came out. The lights from the screens made the station look like it was full of stars. Everyone was recording. Everyone wanted to remember. Everyone wanted to share this moment with people who were not here. But even while recording, they were present. Really present. Not just watching through a screen, feeling it, being part of it. A young woman stood near the middle of the crowd. She was 20 years old. She went to music school, or she used to. 2 days ago, she decided to quit. She was tired of being poor, tired of her parents telling her she was wasting her time, tired of practicing for hours and still not being good enough. Tomorrow, she was going to go to the school office and withdraw. She was going to get a normal job, make normal money, have a normal life, safe, practical, boring. But now, listening to this stranger play, something woke up inside her. A voice that said, "Do not quit. This is why. This is the reason." Music makes people feel alive. Music connects souls. Music matters. Tears poured down her face, big, hot tears. She put her hand over her mouth. Her whole body shook with sobs. But they were not sad sobs. They were relief sobs, like she had been holding her breath and finally let it out. She was not going to quit. Not tomorrow, not ever. She was going to keep practicing, keep trying, keep failing and getting better. Because if music could do this, if music could make hundreds of strangers cry and feel together, then it was worth everything. The teenager with the violin watched the piano player's hands. He studied every movement, every technique. He was not very good at violin yet. He knew that. Everyone knew that. His parents wanted him to focus on school instead. His teacher said music was fine as a hobby, but not a career. His friends made fun of him for carrying a violin on the subway. But watching this man play, seeing what music could do, the teenager made a decision. He was going to practice harder. He was going to get better. He did not care what anyone said. He did not care if he was never famous or rich. He just wanted to make music that made people feel something. He wanted to give people this gift. A journalist pushed through the crowd. She worked for a big newspaper. Someone texted her about this. A billionaire playing piano in the subway. This was news, big news. The kind of story that gets shared 1,000,000 times. The kind of story that wins awards. She pulled out her recorder, started taking notes on her phone, already writing the story in her head. The headline, the opening paragraph, the quotes she would need. But then the music hit her, really hit her. And her fingers stopped typing. Her thoughts stopped racing. She just stood there and listened. Really listened. She had been a journalist for 15 years. She wrote hundreds of stories. But somewhere along the way, she forgot why. She forgot that stories are supposed to mean something. Supposed to touch people. Supposed to matter. Now she remembered. She put her phone away. She would write the story. But not the story she planned. A different story. A true story. About what happens when someone stops pretending and becomes real. About what happens when art breaks through the noise of ordinary life. A corporate lawyer stood near the back. He worked for big companies. He made lots of money. That very morning, he was in court against one of this piano player's companies. He lost. He was angry about it all day, planning his appeal, planning his next move, planning how to win. But now that anger seemed small, petty, unimportant. The music made him remember something. He became a lawyer to help people, to make things right, to fight for justice. When did it become about just winning? Just money? Just beating the other side? He looked at his phone, at all his angry emails to his team, at his plans for revenge. He deleted them, all of them. Tomorrow he would call the other side. Maybe they could settle. Maybe they could find a solution that helped everyone. Maybe winning was not the point. The music continued. The man at the piano played for over an hour. His fingers started to bleed a little, just small spots of red on the white keys. But he did not stop, did not even slow down. The pain did not matter. Nothing mattered except the music. Except this moment. Except finally being honest. His whole back hurt from sitting. His shoulders ached. His hands cramped. But he felt more alive than he had in 20 years. More real. More himself. The crowd was completely silent except for the music. No one talked. No one checked their watch. No one worried about being late. Time stopped. Normal life stopped. Everything stopped except the music and the feeling and the connection between hundreds of strangers who were not strangers anymore. They were people. Just people. Feeling together. Crying together. Being human together. And for this one perfect moment, that was enough. That was everything. A security guard watched from the stairs. He should probably do something. There were rules about blocking the platform, rules about crowds, rules about noise. But he did not move. He could not. The music held him there just like it held everyone else. Besides, sometimes rules do not matter. Sometimes something bigger is happening, something important, something real. This was one of those times, so he just watched, and listened, and felt his own tears come, and did not even try to stop them. The piano player opened his eyes. He saw the crowd for the first time, hundreds of faces, all looking at him, all crying, all transformed, all connected by this invisible thread of music and emotion and shared humanity. He had given speeches to thousands of people, important speeches about business and technology and the future. People always clapped politely. Some took notes. Most looked at their phones, but this was different. These people were really here, really present, really feeling. He had touched something in them, something true and deep and real, and they had touched something in him too. They gave him permission to be honest, to be vulnerable, to stop pretending, to remember who he used to be, who he still was underneath all the success and money and fame. He smiled. A real smile. The first real smile in years. And he played on. The whisper that started earlier grew stronger. It moved through the crowd like electricity. Phone screens glowed as people searched, compared, confirmed. It is him. It is really him. The billionaire. The tech genius. The one on the magazine covers. What is he doing here? The college student who first recognized him pushed forward a little. She showed her phone to people around her. On the screen was a photo from a business magazine. The same face. The same person. Just dressed differently. Looking more serious. Less alive. People looked at the photo. Then at the man playing piano. Then back at the photo. Their eyes went wide. Their mouths opened. Some gasped out loud, "No way, it cannot be." "But it is, look at him." A woman nudged her husband. "Do you know who that is? That is the CEO of that huge tech company. The one in all the news. He is worth billions. Billions. What is he doing playing piano in a subway?" Her husband squinted at the piano player, then checked his own phone. His jaw dropped. "You are right. That is him. This is crazy. Is this some kind of publicity stunt? Where are the cameras?" People looked around, searching for hidden cameras, for film crews, for some explanation that made sense. But there was nothing. Just the piano. Just the music. Just a rich man dressed like he was poor, playing like his heart was breaking. The businessman who lost his court case that morning felt strange. This was the man whose company beat him. The man whose lawyers destroyed his arguments. He should be angry. He should feel bitter, but he could not. Not while listening to this music. Not while seeing this man pour his soul out in public. This was not the enemy. This was just another human being, another person trying to find meaning, trying to be real. The anger he felt all day finally died completely. He felt something else instead. Understanding, maybe even respect. A young man pushed through the crowd roughly. He was 25. He worked at a startup company. He was on his way to another interview at another tech company. He spent every day trying to be like the successful billionaires, trying to make connections, trying to get rich. He saw who was playing. His idol, the man he wanted to be. And his idol was crying while playing piano in a subway station. His idol had given up his evening to do something that made no money, made no business sense, made no logical sense at all. The young man stopped walking, stood very still. His whole understanding of success shifted, cracked, changed. Maybe success was not about money. Maybe it was about something else, something he had been missing while chasing dollar signs. The journalist's mind was racing now. She knew this was huge. Not just a good story, a massive story. Front page, viral, everyone would want to know. Everyone would want to understand. Why would a billionaire do this? What did it mean? But she felt conflicted. Part of her wanted to rush forward, to interrupt, to ask questions, to get quotes, to get the story before anyone else did. That was her job. That was what journalists did, but another part of her, a deeper part, said to wait, to let this moment finish, to respect what was happening. This was sacred somehow. This was important in a way that had nothing to do with news or clicks or fame. She stayed still. Kept her recorder off. Just watched, just felt. The story would come later. Right now, she was not a journalist. She was just a person witnessing something beautiful and true. The music shifted again. It became something classical. Something everyone knew. A famous composer from long ago. But the piano player did not play it the normal way. He played it his way. With his own feeling. His own pain. His own joy. He made the old song new again. Made it alive. A man near the front started to speak. "Excuse me, are you?" But his friend grabbed his arm and shook her head. "Not now, do not interrupt. Let him play. Let this moment be." The man nodded, closed his mouth, waited. How did this happen? How did a billionaire end up here? People wondered. They wanted to understand. But maybe understanding was not the point. Maybe the point was just to feel. Just to be here. Just to receive this unexpected gift. The old man with the cane spoke again, louder this time. "This man knows pain," he said to anyone who would listen. "You cannot play like that unless you have suffered. Unless you have lost something important. Money does not matter. Fame does not matter. But this matters." People around him nodded. They understood. They felt it too. This was not a rich man playing piano. This was a human soul expressing something that words could not say. Something that only music could express. A homeless woman sat on the ground near the edge of the crowd. She had no home, no family, no money, nothing. She came to the subway to get warm, to escape the cold night. She expected nothing. She had learned to expect nothing. But then this music found her. Wrapped around her like a warm blanket. Made her feel like she mattered. Like she was not invisible. Like her life and her pain and her humanity were worth something. She cried. Not quiet tears. Big gulping sobs. She had not cried in years. Had not let herself feel in years. Feeling hurt too much when you had nothing. But now she could not stop. The music broke down the walls she built around her heart. A young father held his daughter's hand tight. She was 7 years old, too young to understand what was happening, but old enough to feel it, to know this was special. "Daddy, why is everyone crying?" she asked. He bent down to her level. "Because sometimes, sweetheart, music shows us what is in our hearts. It reminds us what is important. It makes us feel alive. Is that good?" "Yes, baby." "That is very good." She thought about this, then said, "I want to learn piano." He smiled through his tears. "Then you will. I promise." The teenager with the violin watched the piano player's bleeding fingers, saw him wince when he hit certain keys, saw the pain, but saw him keep playing anyway. This was dedication. This was love. This was what it meant to really care about music. The teenager made a silent promise to himself. When practicing hurt, he would remember this. When people told him to give up, he would remember this. When it seemed too hard, he would remember this moment and this man who played even when it hurt. The music college student had stopped crying. Now she just felt determined, strong, clear. She pulled out her phone, texted her mother. "I am not quitting school. Music is my life. I know you do not understand, but I need you to trust me. This is what I'm meant to do." She hit send before she could change her mind. Her hands shook. But she felt free, finally free to be herself, to follow her path, even if it was hard, even if it was scary. The nurse pushed off from the pillar, stood up straight. She was still tired, but differently. Tired in her body, but awake in her soul. She would go home tonight and rest. Really rest. And tomorrow she would go back to work and remember why she became a nurse. To help people, to bring comfort, to be present with those who suffer, just like this music was present with her suffering now. Healing her, reminding her that she was not alone. The security guard finally moved. But not to break up the crowd. He walked closer, found a spot where he could see better, where he could hear better. He was not on duty anymore in his mind. He was just another person in the crowd. Another soul being touched by something larger than himself. A couple stood together. They had been fighting all day. About money. About work. About whose turn it was to do dishes. Stupid things. Small things. Things that seemed so important this morning. Now standing here, holding hands without planning to, listening to this music, those fights seemed ridiculous. What did dishes matter? What did any of it matter? They had each other. They had this moment. They had this reminder of what was real. The husband squeezed his wife's hand. She squeezed back. They did not need to say anything. They understood. Tomorrow they would do better. They would remember this feeling. They would choose love over being right. The piano player's eyes were open now. He saw the crowd. Really saw them. Hundreds of people. Different ages. Different colors. Different lives. But all the same. All human. All feeling. All connected by this thread of music he was weaving. He saw their tears. Saw their pain. Saw their joy. Saw their recognition. Some of them knew who he was now. He could tell. But it did not matter. That person, the billionaire, the CEO, felt far away. Like someone else. Like a costume he had been wearing, this was the real him. This person at the piano. This person making music. This person feeling. This person being honest. Finally. After so many years of pretending, he played one of his own songs again. One he wrote when he was 19. One he never shared with anyone. One he thought he would never play. It was too personal, too raw, too much of his real self. But now he played it for these strangers. These beautiful strangers who stood with him in this moment. Who accepted his offering. Who gave him their attention and their emotion and their presence. It was a gift. Both ways he gave them music. They gave him permission to be real. To be vulnerable. To be human. The song built and built. Became bigger, louder, more intense. His whole body moved. His head tilted back. His eyes closed again. He was inside the music now. Completely inside. Nothing else existed. Just the notes. Just the feeling. Just this moment of perfect, painful, beautiful truth. The final note rang out through the station. It hung in the air like a question waiting for an answer. Then silence. Complete silence. Not even breathing could be heard. The whole crowd held still, frozen in the moment between the music ending and the world starting again. Then it broke. The applause came like thunder. Not polite clapping. Not golf tournament clapping. Real applause. The kind that comes from deep inside. The kind that says, "Thank you for changing me." The kind that says, "I will remember this forever." People cheered. They whistled. They stomped their feet. The sound echoed through the whole station. People on other platforms heard it and wondered what was happening. Even people on the street above could hear the roar of the crowd underground. The piano player opened his eyes slowly, like waking from a deep sleep. He looked at his hands. They were shaking, bleeding slightly, cramped from playing so long, but they felt alive. They felt right. They felt like his hands again. He stood up slowly. His legs were stiff. His back hurt. But he smiled. Really smiled. The kind of smile that reaches the eyes. The kind that comes from the soul. The crowd pressed closer, but not too close. They still gave him space. Still respected the sacredness of what just happened. The old man with the cane stepped forward. His eyes were bright with tears. "Young man," he said, and his voice carried through the station even though it was soft. "I have been coming through this station for 42 years. Every single day. I never heard anything like that. I never felt anything like that." The man at the piano nodded. His throat was too tight to speak yet. The old man continued. "Whatever you gave up to be here, whatever brought you to this moment, thank you. Thank you for reminding us what it means to be alive." Other people called out their thanks. Their voices mixed together. A wall of gratitude and emotion. Someone handed him a bottle of water. He took it, drank, his hand still shook. The water spilled a little. He did not care. The journalist stepped forward. She had her press badge around her neck now, her recorder in her hand, but she held it loosely, carefully, like she was approaching something delicate. "Sir," she said. She was professional but gentle. "Can I ask you something? Can I ask why? Why here? Why now?" He looked at her. Really looked at her. Saw a person, not just a reporter. Saw someone who was also changed by what just happened. "I forgot something," he said. His voice was rough, raw, honest. "I forgot who I was. I forgot why any of it mattered. The money, the success, the fame. I forgot what it felt like to be real." The journalist wrote this down, but she was crying too. Her hand shook while writing. The music student pushed forward. The one who was going to quit. "I was going to give up," she said. Her voice broke. "I was going to quit music school tomorrow. Everyone said I would never make it. that I should be practical, get a real job. Stop dreaming, she wiped her face. But hearing you play, seeing what music can do, how it can connect people, how it can make strangers feel together, I cannot quit. I will not quit, even if I am never famous, even if I am never rich. This matters too much. The man at the piano felt something break open in his chest. He stepped forward and hugged her. Just hugged this stranger who understood, who felt what he felt, who knew what he knew. Do not quit, he whispered. The world needs beauty. The world needs truth. The world needs people who are brave enough to make art even when it is hard. Promise me you will not quit. I promise, she said. And she meant it. She really meant it. The teenager with the violin spoke up next. He was shy. His voice was small, but brave. I am not very good yet. Everyone tells me to stop, to focus on school. But I love music. I love it more than anything. Is that enough? The piano player turned to him, looked at him seriously. Love is always enough. Love is the only thing that matters. Being good comes with practice. But love, that is the foundation. Do not ever let anyone kill that love. The boy nodded. Tears ran down his young face. But he stood taller, stronger, surer of himself. A woman called out from the crowd. Can I ask something? Her voice was shaking. Who are you really? Not the billionaire. Not the CEO, but really. Who are you? He thought about this. Thought hard. Who was he? He had been so many things. So many versions of himself. Played so many roles. But who was he really underneath everything? I am someone who forgot what mattered, he said slowly. Carefully. I am someone who chose success over happiness. Money over meaning. I am someone who gave up on a dream and spent 20 years regretting it. He paused. The crowd was completely silent, listening. But I am also someone who gets a second chance. I am someone who is choosing differently now. I am someone who is finally being honest. The journalist asked her next question. Everyone leaned in to hear. What happens next? What are you going to do now? He looked at her, looked at the crowd, looked at the old dusty piano that gave him back his life. This piano will be restored, he said. His voice was strong now, clear, decided. Not just restored, made beautiful. And 10 more pianos will be placed in stations across the city. People gasped, started talking to each other, excited, hopeful. He held up his hand, but not with my name on them. No plaques, no credit, just pianos. For anyone who needs them. For anyone who needs to remember what matters. For anyone who needs to be real for a moment. The applause started again, but he held up his hand again. He was not finished. And I am taking a break from my company. Maybe a long break. Maybe forever. I do not know yet. But I need to figure out who I am when I am not being successful. When I am not being rich. When I am just being me. The crowd erupted. Some people were shocked. Some were crying. Some were cheering. The journalist was writing furiously. This was bigger than she imagined. This was a man walking away from billions, from power, from everything most people wanted. To do what? To play piano. To teach music. To be human. It made no sense. It made perfect sense. The young startup worker stood in the back. His whole world was spinning. He had spent years trying to be like this man, trying to get rich like this man, trying to be successful like this man. And now this man was saying it was all meaningless. It was all empty. It was all a mistake. He felt angry at first, then confused, then something else. Relief. Maybe he did not have to kill himself working. Maybe he did not have to give up everything for money. Maybe there was another way to live. He pulled out his phone, sent an email. I am withdrawing from the interview process. This is not the path I want. Thank you for your time. He hit send. His hand shook. But he smiled. He actually smiled. The businessman who lost his court case approached carefully. I work for the other side, he said. We were in court against your company today. I lost. I was angry all day, planning revenge, planning how to win next time. The piano player looked at him, waited. But I am not angry anymore, the lawyer said. The music showed me something. We are all just people, all just trying to do our jobs, all just trying to get through life. I am going to call your lawyers tomorrow. Maybe we can settle. Maybe we can find a solution that helps everyone. Maybe winning is not the point. The piano player reached out and shook his hand. Thank you, he said simply. Thank you for being human. The nurse was leaving now. She had to go. She had to sleep. But she stopped at the edge of the crowd, turned back. Thank you, she called out. Her voice was tired but happy. I was dying inside, forgetting why I became a nurse. You reminded me. You saved me tonight, he nodded to her, touched his hand to his heart, a gesture of respect, of gratitude, of connection. More people started leaving, slowly, reluctantly, like leaving a warm fire on a cold night. But they had lives to return to, homes to go to, people waiting for them. But they were different now, changed. They would carry this moment with them, would remember, would tell their children and grandchildren, would say I was there. I was there when something real happened. The station began to empty. The piano player sat down on the bench again. Just sat, exhausted, exhilarated, transformed. The journalist sat next to him. Can I write about this? She asked. The world should know. This story could help people. He thought about it. Nodded slowly. Yes, but not about me being rich. Not about me being famous. Write about the music. Write about the people. Write about what happens when someone stops pretending. Write something true. I will, she said. I promise. 6 months later, a video appeared online. Someone had recorded the whole performance. It was 90 minutes long. The title was simple. Man plays piano in subway station. No mention of who he was. No clickbait, just truth. The video was watched 200 million times. People shared it everywhere. It made them cry, made them think, made them change, made them remember what mattered. But the piano player never watched it. He was too busy doing other things. Teaching music to kids in his old neighborhood. Kids who could not afford lessons. Kids who had dreams but no money. Kids like he used to be. He performed sometimes. Small venues. Coffee shops. Community centers. Never big concerts. Never famous stages. Just real places where real people gathered. He played under a different name. Nobody knew who he really was. And that was perfect. The teenager with the violin became his student. They practiced together twice a week. The boy was getting better. Much better. He had passion. He had love. That was enough. The music student did not quit school.